IT-Spotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at IT-Spotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtag IT-Spotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And as always, you can find us on Facebook. To search In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. And then make sure that you like our fan page once you're on it, please. All right, so really quickly, one real quick thing to mention here at the top before we get into what we're going to be doing tonight. So last week we had some technical problems, and I don't know if I might have, I can't remember because it was a week ago, but I might have noted this on the air that we were having problems and that it appeared that for some people that we weren't even on the air. Well, I didn't notice anything while we were on the air. Everything appeared to be working just fine. And everything, I thought everything worked fine. And then after the show was over, I saw what was on our channel on YouTube, and it was basically a 3-minute video that was all messed up. It was skipping everywhere. So not good at all. So I want to apologize for that, and for those that didn't check us out live last week and went to archive to check it out. I do sincerely apologize for that. Obviously, in archive everywhere, it's going to be messed up now. Sucks, but what are you going to do? There's just nothing you could do about it. So that was kind of like a lost episode. It's the first time we've ever had that problem before. We never had that problem before. And so it's still up. I haven't deleted it yet, but it's unfortunate. It's pretty much you're not going to be able to really get anything out of it. So thankfully, a lot of you check us out live, but at the same time, I know a lot of you, do listen to us in archive or watch us in archive later on. So I do apologize for those of you that will not be able to do or have not been able to do that because of again the technical problems that took over the show last week. So my apologies for that. So again, nothing showed up. There was no red flags while we were on the air. So I don't know what happened there, but it happened, and I do apologize for that. All right, so and one more thing. Next Tuesday is the deadline for the nomination ballots for the In the Spotlight TV Awards next Tuesday. So make sure you got 1 week from tonight to get those ballots in. So make sure that you do that. Again, those can be only submitted by email only, please. You can ask questions about the awards by email, Facebook, and Twitter, but submissions can only be done by email only. So please keep that in mind. Nominations, of course, will be announced 2 weeks from tonight. So please keep all that in mind. All right. With all that being said, obviously, we're on the air late. Nothing new for us, right? So my apologies for that as usual. Again, things going on. Can't help it. Try to be on time, but you know what? We're going to have to be on time come fall. I'll explain more about that as we go further into the summer here. I don't want to talk too much about it. People are going to say, well, wait a minute. You always talk about plans, and most of the time these plans don't happen. Things are going to be happening, folks. Just wait and see. But anyway, let's get around. Let's get, let's not deal with that right now. All right, so tonight, again, we're on the air late, but we don't really have a lot to do. It's one of those weird shows where we don't really have a lot. We obviously will do the box office beat. We'll start with that. We have a little bit of wrestling to get to, not a whole lot. We'll talk the Kawaii Leonard trade. I don't know what I can say about that. It's not even said, but we will. We'll talk a little bit of baseball. Baseball trade deadline stuff is starting to pick up. We're 1 week out from the trade deadline, so we'll talk about obviously the Machado deal has been done. We talked about that last week, but you might not have heard it. Maybe I'll just do a brief little summary of my feelings on that. Brad Hand got moved in the last week, and then tonight the next big domino fell, Zack Britton going to the Yankees. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the Gary Sanchez thing from last night. Going to rant about that and other trade things that are going around. If there's anything, not a whole lot. Things have been kind of slow, but I anticipate they're going to pick up. This might be one of the more active deadlines, but we'll talk about that later. And that'll be the show tonight. That's all we got. So not a whole lot tonight. We're kind of in that middle of summer where it's just baseball and that's pretty much it. And things have kind of slowed down with the NBA. Wrestling is going to slow down until SummerSlam picks up in a few weeks. So not a whole lot going on. So let's get going here, and let's start again, as we always do, with the box office beat. And not a whole lot I can say about this week. And I think you're surprised a little bit because I think most of us thought Mamma Mia would be the number one and Equalizer be the number two. That's not how it felt. I mentioned last week that there's potential for the piggyback effect, which is when a movie geared towards men and a movie geared towards women both come out, and then they kind of try to, maybe the guys go to see the movie geared towards men, maybe the women go see the movie geared towards women, that kind of thing. Well, they did piggyback on each other. That's what happened here. You got Equalizer 2 that debuted with 36 million, and Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, debuted with 34.9. So it was a very close race for the top. And these totals aren't exactly bad. I mean, they're just not. But I think the order is maybe a little bit surprising. And for the Equalizer, I think it really overperformed and not expect the kind of numbers they got. For Mamma Mia, I think it might have underperformed a little bit. But, all in all, it's not that bad here at the top. And you could tell the piggyback effect was in effect there. Very good news for the box office was Hotel Transylvania, which in its second week, it did drop 46%, but it's pretty good number in third place with 23.7. That's pretty good. Considering what Incredibles doing the business it has. And then Ant-Man kind of, dropped again pretty hard, but again, still not a bad total, 16.5 million on its 43% drop off, which isn't that bad either. Incredibles continue to do insane business, 11.8 million in fifth place as it closes in on $1 billion. It's at 943 right now. Skyscraper dropped to 6 with 11.3 million. Jurassic World in 7th with 11.2. So both pretty good numbers. Skyscraper did drop pretty hard, but not, again, you expect that. So, based right around what you expected to. First Purge came in 8th with 5.1 million. Last week's other new movie did not do well. That was probably the biggest negative at the box office. Unfriended Dark Web put in 3.6 million in 9th. Probably shouldn't have been a summer movie, but it is what it is. But still, 8 movies over 5 million, 3 movies over 20 million, 7 over 10. That's pretty good for given the circumstances, given the fact that the summers kind of peter out after 4th of July now. All in all, it's not a bad box office weekend. There's really not much else you can say about it. There's not anything shocking or earth-shattering anything to talk about, really. It's just a pretty, I would say, a solid week given the circumstances. And now you turn your attention to next week, this coming weekend, I should say, the end of July. Hard to believe. And really, again, as the summer continues to kind of peter out a little bit here, doesn't mean it's not going to do okay. It's just that you really have the last true blockbuster coming out this week in Mission Impossible Fallout. So this again petering out slowly here. So that is the biggest release, Mission Impossible Fallout, an action film from Paramount, opening in 4,000 theaters. Once again, starring Tom Cruise, Henry Cavill, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, Ving Rhames, Angela Bassett, Michelle Monaghan, Alec Baldwin, and Wes Bentley. You know what you're going to get here. You know it's going to do reasonably well. Been well promoted, so nothing really earth-shattering to talk about there. The second biggest release is Teen Titans Go to the Movies, an animated film from Warner Bros. opening in over 3,000 theaters. This is a weird one to kind of figure out because you could see it only. Obviously, it's a DC movie and it's animated, and the animation movies tend to do better. And it's opening in 3,000 theaters, so you expect it to do reasonably well. But the DC animated movies tend to appeal more to a niche audience. They don't tend to appeal to wide audiences. But the theater count suggests it has potential to do so. So I guess you can go low end and say it could probably pull in about 15 to 20 million. I don't know if it could pull in more than that. I don't even know that many people that know what's even coming out unless you've seen any of the promotion. But there has been promotion, but not a whole lot. So there's an expanding release this week called Blind Spot, a comedy drama from Lionsgate Summit. It'll be expanding to over 500 theaters. It's already made 373,000. Check your local theater listings. R-rated. It won't really do much this weekend. Obviously, it will barely break a million if it's lucky. So, all right. So let's do some predictions here as we try to move along here. Mission Impossible Fallout will more than likely be number. I'm going to go with 45 million around there. I don't expect a huge number here. 45 million seems about right. Maybe 50. I don't see it doing much more than that. I don't see it doing much less either. I think I expect Equalizer and Mamma Mia both to fall pretty hard. So I think Teen Titans will take second. Probably, again, I'm going to go for around 15 to 20 million, and somewhere in that range. And then you'll probably have Equalizer right around 15, 16. Mamma Mia will probably be very close there too, 14, 15. Mamma Mia could easily beat out Equalizer. It'll be very close between those two movies. let's see. How did okay, Hotel Transylvania did 23 last weekend. So we'd probably be let's say 12 on that one. 12, and then maybe Ant-Man around 11. So those two will be close as well. Credibles around 9, Skyscraper around 7, Jurassic World around 6.5, 7, and then everything else will be under 5 million. So it should be a pretty close race here. Yeah, it should be a pretty close race here. From like 1 to 10, really should be. So, and that's pretty much it. That's the story. Not a whole lot going on. Again, as the summer continues to slowly peter itself out here, and not to say the box office in a lull. It's just not. It's just that's not much to talk about. It just kind of is what it is. Next week, the first week of August, you have 4 new releases. One of which is a documentary, so it won't factor into much. As the summer kind of rolls on here, and kind of again, this slowly filters itself out. You got The Darkest Minds, a sci-fi thriller, Disney's Christopher Robin, a fantasy film, which could go either way on that one. As far as we've seen Disney release some live-action movies in August and not do so well, so we'll see how that one ends up. And then The Spy Who Dumped Me, an action comedy, which could be a sleeper hit, especially with no competition into August. So yeah, that's what you got coming out next week, and obviously we'll talk about those films next week. As we look, and also look back, of course, at this coming weekend here. So, a couple of you asked me before the show what we're going to do about Comic-Con. We're going to talk about, and look, there's not a. This year was one of the quieter Comic-Cons. There was still a lot of things going on. I didn't put in the show description because I don't think there's a lot to talk about. There was no groundbreaking announcements, no huge announcements. You know, you got a bunch of good trailers. Aquaman's trailer was pretty good. Shazam. A lot of TV shows unveiled their trailers. You know, Walking Dead, Andrew Lincoln officially announced his leaving, which, you know, everybody already knew about already. You know, there was really nothing huge at Comic-Con this year as far as like big announcement that goes. So that's why there's nothing to talk about. I mean, we can't. What we're going to talk about our reactions to trailers and stuff. That's not. You know, you look for big announcements, shocking announcements, release dates, things like that, and there wasn't any of that. So yeah, you know, that is what it is. So, another thing, so that's why I didn't put in the shows because there's nothing to talk about. Another thing people have been asking me about over the last week is the James Gunn thing. I did not put that in the show description either, and I went back and forth on that tonight. Whatever I was going to do a segment on that, and I've decided to wait a week. And the reason why I've decided to wait a week is there's some things, you know, it's kind of an ongoing thing right now. I'm not thinking they're going to hire him back, but there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of layers to it, and I prefer to wait the week to see how some of these angles develop here and see what other, you know, things we can add to and what other things we can talk about. So I have some thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts actually, but we'll save those for next week. So I will do it next week. Don't fret. We will do it next week, but it's one of those things where it's an ongoing thing and more stuff keeps happening. You all know how I feel about stories like that. I like to wait. I know, obviously, some people like to strike while the iron's hot and talk about it. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I think it's worth waiting so you get more information and more reactions and more layers to the story, and then you can kind of gives you more to talk about with it. So we'll wait the week, and then we'll go from there and we'll talk about it and all that good stuff. So, so you can look forward to us having a segment on that a week from tonight. So there you go on that. All right, so that pretty much rounds out entertainment. Let's jump to a little bit of wrestling. There's not a lot because not a whole lot going on. Obviously, the big announcement was the women's pay-per-view, all-women's pay-per-view, which was announced for October 20th. It's called Evolution. That was the big announcement that was teased for over a week. It was a big deal, and obviously a lot of us saw it coming. It was either going to be that or it was going to be the women's tag titles, which still could be announced at some point. It's obviously a tremendous accomplishment for the women. It was a big deal, and I'm glad for them. And look, I think it's good. Now they're also involving legends in it, which I think is going to help sell it. Because look, as much as they like to pretend that the women are a draw, in many ways they are. But they're not. Are the majority of the roster a big enough draw to draw a pay-per-view? Yeah, women like Charlotte, Asuka, maybe Sasha and Bayley. Some of the women that have been pushed a lot, obviously Ronda. Some of the women that have been pushed a lot are obviously huge draws. We know that. They'll help, and people will go watch the pay-per-view for them. But here's the thing. your bottom tier of your card, are they draws enough to draw people to watch the pay-per-view? And that's where it gets, you get question marks. So, it behooves them to try to do as much as they can and give you as much as you can on this event. And that's what I think they're going to try to do. So, yeah, it was a big deal, and you give them credit for doing it. It is a risk, but you give them credit for doing it, and I think they'll try to put on a really good event there. So, other than that, last night Raw was pretty, uneventful. Obviously, Roman Reigns, Bobby Lashley was the main event, and Roman won it. I was kind of surprised by that, not because I didn't think Roman would get his win back. I thought he would, but only because, I thought they'd go the triple threat angle. That's what I thought they would do, but I guess, they've been nothing if not consistent. They want to stick with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, and, they have Braun Strowman in the offing in case it doesn't go over well. So, that's what it is. And other than that, only other big development was Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman are continuing their feud, and apparently they're going to have a match for the case at SummerSlam, which that one kind of came out of left field. I didn't think they were going to do anything with that, but you know what? I guess it gets both guys on the card, and they need enough matches to fill out 5 or 6 hours worth of time. So, so far for the pay-per-view, we have obviously, as I mentioned, Kevin Owens versus Braun Strowman with the Braun's Money in the Bank briefcase on the line. We have Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss. Intercontinental title match. We got Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler. I'm kind of wondering if that's going to be a triple threat. Maybe not. We'll see. With Drew McIntyre, we'll see. That could still happen. We had announced going into this week that there'll be a tournament to decide who will challenge the Bludgeon Brothers for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. So we know that's going to be a match. There's a lot of stuff that actually SmackDown had a lot of stuff go on tonight. Definitely a more eventful show than Raw, which it has been the last few weeks. We now know AJ Styles is SummerSlam challenger. It's Samoa Joe, so that will be a match on the card. It's no surprise there. We all thought that would be who it was, and that's who it is. So AJ versus Samoa Joe, which is a big match. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be shocked into that. There was a lot of Miz and Maurice promotion tonight. A lot of stuff with Randy Orton. They really furthered Randy Orton's heel turn. He did a whole explanation about it, and I thought it made a lot of sense. The whole Legend Killer thing, I thought it made a whole lot of sense. They did a good job with it. We had Rusev versus Andrade Cien who won that match. It's kind of a surprise to me because I thought they were pushing Rusev, but I guess not. So Joe won a quick match with R-Truth. Asuka beat Billie Kay. In a short match, which, who knows what that's about. You had James Ellsworth, who got fired tonight. That was a big development. Becky Lynch won her number 1 contenders match, so she will be facing Carmella. The beginning of the Tag Team Championship tournament, New Day won their match over Sanity. And then you had a great Miz Daniel Bryan segment to end the night. So all in all, it was a great SmackDown. Built up a lot of matches and just did a lot of stuff for SummerSlam. I thought SmackDown had a great night. So lots of movement, lots of big stuff going on, and that's what you want. And that's SmackDown feels far more alive than Raw does right now. But maybe once they get the Universal title off of Brock Lesnar, it'll feel more alive again. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's all as far as highlights go. That's all there was, and you had the women's announcement yesterday, and that's the pretty big stuff. At least the big stuff that I would think people wanted to mention. So that's pretty much where we're at right now. As again, SummerSlam is less than a month away now, and things will pick up steam around there. And really, once you get to SummerSlam, you start really thinking about WrestleMania and the build to that. That's when you start hearing things, all that kind of stuff. So very good SmackDown. Raw, kind of whatever. And then, obviously we got the women's pay-per-view Evolution to look forward to now. So, not a lot of stuff going on with wrestling right now. So let's move out of it and let's jump into sports where a lot of things are going on. Briefly, another thing I didn't put in the show description. The the Open Championship, which took place. I said we talk about it if something major happened. Now, in terms of winners, it wasn't really major, but boy, they finally had something to be hyped about. Because look, I've been down on golf this season because every time you hype yourself up, you're like, oh God, you get disappointed. They go into Sunday. Tiger charges into competition. Rory charges into competition. Jordan Spieth charges into competition. You got so many big players in competition going into Sunday. And not only that, but Tiger makes a push. He actually ties for the lead on Sunday. And the leader, one of the leaders was Jordan Spieth. You had so many guys at the top, but you had Jordan Spieth at the top, Tiger right there. How great was that until maybe like the last 3 or 4 holes? How great was that? It was great theater. It was great. It's probably the first time in over a year that they had something like that you just couldn't take your eyes off of. Ultimately, after that kind of fell apart, but it was still a good tournament, and especially Saturday into the first half of Sunday was really what you want out of the PGA Tour. Great competition, big name players with some of the young up-and-coming stars. It was a great, great, great run there for them, and they can get more of that on next year, then they'll be in great shape. And look, this is the first time I actually watched Tiger since he's been back, where I feel like Tiger could still win a major. He really played on between Saturday and the first half of Sunday. He played really good golf. He looked comfortable. He didn't look in his own head. He looked relaxed. He let the game come to him. His short game was good. His long game was good. Everything that you could think of with Tiger, everything was starting to come together. That's something that he can carry forward going forward. It really is something he can carry forward. He finally has a performance that he can build off of, truly build off of. Same thing with Jordan Spieth and same thing with Rory McIlroy. All these guys that, the PGA has built its foundation on and future on, and, and just really needs them to be at least competitive. They all have performances that they can build on here coming out of this tournament, which is great for them. So it's something. Finally, something for the PGA Tour to hang its hat on here. And hopefully it can, continues the rest of the year, and going into next year, we see these, the big names in competition to go along with the young up and comers, because that's when it's at its best. It draws more attention to the sport. It adds more to the competition. It's compelling. It's dramatic. That's what you want. So all in all, I thought, while it wasn't the best ending, and no disrespect to the winner no disrespect to the winner, it wasn't the best ending because everything kind of petered out at the end, but still, it ends up being a solid tournament, and the first time you see that things might be looking up for the PGA Tour and things could get really competitive and compelling going forward. All right, so there's the golf. Now, let's talk Kawaii Leonard, because that deal obviously happened the day after our show last week. So the Spurs finally rid themselves of Kawaii Leonard. They trade him for DeMar DeRozan, and look, there were other players involved in money, but let's just face it, it was DeMar DeRozan for Kawaii Leonard. Let's just not beat around the bush. First of all, let's look at this from the standpoint of Toronto and DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan was told that he would not be traded. That was maybe a month ago. DeMar DeRozan stays with Toronto, signed a contract, loves being there, very close to Kyle Lowry, a whole deal. Great guy. Now, look, DeMar DeRozan's a very good player. What limits him is that he can't shoot threes. That's what limits him. It makes him a very one-dimensional player. And some team, now look, does that depreciate his value? To some teams it might. It never seemed to bother Toronto. They worked around it. They have enough shooters. They lived with it. They went with it. Now, a lot of people wonder, well, why would the Spurs want to take on a one-dimensional player? Wouldn't they want somebody that's a little bit more dimensional for a guy like Kawaii Leonard, who's a very multi-dimensional player, great two-way player, one of the best in the NBA? I think for the Spurs, okay, because here's the thing. As this saga has gone on this summer, you've had teams kind of back away from it. The Lakers backed away. The Clippers backed away. The Portland backed away. Cleveland backed away. Boston backed away. All these teams started backing away. And it's, again, we've talked about Kawhi Leonard. I think people started to think, you know what, if he's dead set on where he wants to go, if he's dead set on going to LA, why are we going to move pieces for him? He's not going to have it. We'll have a chance to get inside his head. This ain't going to be a Paul George. I think people realized this wasn't going to be Paul George. You weren't just going to get this guy and all of a sudden he's going to be like, oh, well, you know, I like it here. I'm going to stay. They figured that part out. And as for the LA teams, I think, look, Kawhi wanted to go to the Lakers, but then there was talk he didn't want to go to the Lakers. He didn't want to be in LeBron's chair. He wants to go to the Clippers. Well, maybe the Clippers were not sure if they wanted to build around him in case he changes his mind. So, you know, there was a lot of things out there. And generally speaking, I think that caused a lot of teams some hesitation. And you saw these teams back away. So that left Toronto. And Toronto is offering an all-star. A guy that is a good player if you can live with the fact he can't shoot the ball from three. He's a good player. So, you know, and he is a guy, he's a great teammate. He's a great guy to have in the locker room. So he's going to fit right in with the Spurs. He ain't going to cause a problem. And look, if anybody can work around, you know, work him into a system, it's the Spurs. Okay, so I have no doubt he's going to contribute to the San Antonio Spurs. Now, is he going to give you what Kawhi Leonard did? No. He's an okay enough defender. He's a solid player, but he's not Kawhi Leonard. But I think the Spurs thought, hey, you know what? We're getting an all-star for an all-star. And that's something that's going to keep us relevant and competitive. Will we be a 2 seed in the West? No. But we'll be in the conversation to at least make the playoffs. They probably will make the playoffs. And based on the fact that so many teams started to back away, I think they felt like they had this was pretty much their best and only option. Even Philly started to back away. You know, I think they figured it was their best and only option. So for the Spurs, I get it. I like it. They had to do something, and this is what they do. And you know what? I think they did. I think they did fine. As for Toronto, I think what they did was a really crappy move. I really do. I think it's a move that reeks of desperation. You fire your head coach because he couldn't beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, which I think is absurd. Okay, because that team, that team, again, you're the coach of the year. You break through. You're the number one seed. You had this great year, and you fire your head coach. You at least give him a year to prove that that you can build upon that. I understand they were in the conference finals year. You know, they were in the conference finals and they lost in the semifinals. I get that. I get that. But to get rid of him after what he's done and not give him a year, you know, I like to call it the hot seat year. Give him a hot seat year. Let him prove himself. But no, they don't do that. They get rid of the coach. And now they get rid of the star player. The star player did nothing but prove himself loyal to you. And then you tell him a month ago that he's not going anywhere. And they apologize for it, but still. I understand it's a business. I understand these things change. These things are fluid. I get that. I get that. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it right. And it's a desperation move. Because here's the thing. Kawhi isn't staying with you. He's not staying in Toronto. So you pretty much have to show here's what you're pretty much going to do. Okay. Again, and you when you're a general manager, okay, and you're running a franchise, you have to make it. You have to look at your team. You have to make a decision. Sometimes you have to make that decision twice. You make that decision before the season, during the off season when you're trying to make moves, and you make that decision in the middle part of the season. How all in are you going to be? You look at this Toronto team in this off season, and you look at what's available, and you think if you're trying to add Kawhi Leonard, you say, well, you know what? If I'm adding Kawhi Leonard, I'm looking at this season as we have to win a championship. Because he's not going to stay. If we're doing this, we need to win a championship with him. While Kawhi Leonard, on his own, with what you have, does not make you a championship team. So you do not make this move. Unless you have other moves you can potentially make, which they do not. They cannot sign any. There's no other free agents out there they can sign that's going to help them. They can't make any other trades that can help them. So they're pretty much exchanging Kawhi Leonard for DeMar DeRozan. Does he make you bet? Is Kawhi Leonard a better player than DeMar DeRozan? Absolutely. Does that mean Toronto's going to win more games? Maybe. But does that mean they're going to win an NBA championship? No. They're not going to win an NBA championship with Kawhi Leonard. They're not. They're not. Boston's 3 times better than them. That's why I don't understand the move. He's not a guy that's he's not a guy you're gonna be able to change his mind about staying. So you do not make this move unless you field a championship team and say, you know what, we take this risk because we put him on this team. We're gonna win a championship this year, and we still be worth it. That's when, when you're running a franchise, when you're a general manager, that's what you have to look at. If you can't, for a guy like this, you look at it and go, can we win a championship for him? Because we're only going to have him for a year. If you can't, you do not make the move. You don't. You don't. Especially when you're shipping out a guy that the fans love, that does so much for their community, and it was nothing but loyal to you. It's bad. It's a bad optic. Stupid move for them. Now, there is a way they could salvage it. There is a way they could salvage it. Because you know what? And again, this is where I say sometimes, oftentimes you have to look at where you are in the midseason too, right on the trade deadline. Where are you at? Are you close to the top? Okay. Can you make any moves to make you better, to put you over the top to win a championship? Now, Kawhi Leonard, let's say Toronto is in a position to be the number 1 team in the East at the trade deadline. Let's say that's where they're at, and then fine. You decide, all right, what else can we do? Is there anything we can do to make ourselves better? If not, fine. Let's just go with what we have. Okay, fine. But let's say you're not. Let's say you're a 3 or a 4, because with Kawhi, they're going to be at least that much, right? Or even a 2. But let's say you look at this and go, Kawhi's not going to stay, and Boston's this good. They're already up 8 games on us for the 1 seed. Let's say you look at and go, you know what? We're not going to do this. We're not going to chance, which is probably what you should have said before you made that trade. But anyway, then you know what you do? You trade him at the deadline, because there's going to be teams that are in it that are going to look at this and go, wow, if we get Kawhi Leonard for half a season, we get him in there, he's going to be motivated, he wants to get that big contract. We get Kawhi Leonard, we could win a championship. There's going to be teams out there that adding him might give them a championship. So that, you move them. And desperation is you get desperate teams at that trade deadline. That's what the whole point is. That's when you get good deals. So that's what you should do if you're Toronto. It's the only salvageable thing you can do, because you're not going to be a championship team with him. So that's what they should do to salvage this, because they already made the mistake of trading for him. So salvage it, trade him off. Maybe you get a return that allows you to compete for years to come. That's what they should do. Because the mere fact that they traded for him, I thought was a huge mistake, unless you have a championship level team, and they do not. So for the Spurs, it's a no-brainer. For the Raptors, I thought it was a terrible move, and a terrible thing to do to DeMar DeRozan. But DeMar will do well with the Spurs. He won't cause problems. He'll be fine. Kawhi, we'll see what happens. Doesn't look very neither player was enthusiastic, but Kawhi's not. It is what it is. Kawhi will, he'll do it. He'll go out there. He has to play because he has to prove himself. He'll go do his thing, and we'll see where they're at. But they're not going to be a championship level team with him, and it's not like they got a lot of flexibility to do much more. So they'll go do their thing, and you know what? They're smart. They'll trade him at the deadline and get some pieces back, and that should keep them relevant for a few years. But we'll see if they play it smart, because they haven't played it smart so far. Right now, they're just a desperate team that's grasping at straws to stay relevant. That's fired their coach stupidly, and now has cast off one of their best players, a fan favorite, out of a desperate move, hoping that Kawhi Leonard on his own is enough to not only keep him relevant, but help him win a championship. It's just a dumb move for them. It's a bad optic for them, but whatever. It's done and it's over with. They made the move. Now they have to live with it. And we'll see how it unfolds this season. And it should be interesting, to say the least. All right, so that's the Kawhi Leonard thing. So Again, everything else in the NBA is kind of quieted down. That's been the big thing. And, obviously Dirk Nowitzki signed for his 21st season, which passes Kobe Bryant for, more than 20 years of a team. So now he's the record holder for that. So good for him. He's great. And Dallas is up and coming. If he can maybe eke out another year or two, they might be in the mix. So he might want to do that. He keeps kind of going year to year, but Dallas is up and coming. They're going to be back. It's pretty quick. I don't know if they might be maybe they'll be a year early this year and get into the playoffs, but I'd say in another 2 years. Not this season, but next season, I'd say look out for Dallas. I think Dallas could be pretty good. But that was the only other NBA news. Everything else is kind of quieted down here. So that's usually what happens as you get into late July. Everything kind of, on the draft, and then early July, things are very active, and then things quiet down. That's how it goes. Football training camps opening up, and really it's that and baseball right now. So, yeah. So with that in mind, let's move to baseball. We talked about Manny Machado last week. Again, the show kind of got screwed up last week with the technical difficulties and stuff. So I don't know if anybody heard me talk about Manny Machado and the All-Star Game and the Home Run Derby. I'm not going to repeat the All-Star Game and Home Run Derby stuff, but Manny Machado, my brief thoughts. I thought it was a no-brainer for the Dodgers. Actually, I didn't talk about the deal. The deal went down on Thursday, so I couldn't talk about the deal. Wednesday it went down, so I can't talk about the deal. But it was in the works that night. You heard that it was pretty close, that it was going to the Dodgers. And yeah, I mean, look, it's a no-brainer for the Dodgers. Seager's out for the year. They need a shortstop. Now their third baseman's out for the year. So now Manny's playing over there, which is not something he wanted to do, but on necessity, he's doing it. And look, they needed a bat. They got a bat. It's a need. They had a desperate need. A team like the Yankees did not have that need. A team like the Red Sox did not have that need. But it was a way to kind of keep them from going from the competition and to kind of fortify a strength that they have. And you got them for a good rate, just like the Yankees got Stanton for a good rate, then you went with it. But they pushed as far as they could go, and they didn't get them. And Dodgers had more of a need, so they gave them a bigger package. And I'm sure maybe the Orioles didn't want to trade a big bat in the division, even though they just traded a pitcher in the division. But maybe a bat is more impactful for them, and that's why they didn't do it. So, but I thought it was a good move for the Dodgers, a no-brainer. If they're going to go for it, and their window's closing pretty quickly, and they got to go for it. And this might be our last chance to do it. So, it's like the Cubs did with Aroldis Chapman. And, if you haven't won in a long time, like the Cubs had it, like the Indians having that, you go for it. And the Indians made that kind of move too with the move for Brad Hand for one of their better prospects. Again, their bullpen's a mess. That's the reason why they're in the position they're in, where they haven't won as many games as people would have anticipated. They have to make a move for relievers. They get a great one in Brad Hand plus another reliever, and it improves their bullpen. Their bullpen's their weak spot. They improve. That's really the only place they could really improve. Sure, they would have, they were in on Machado and, they're going after Britton and everything, but Britton would have, but they're going after Machado. But you know what? Again, they have offense. They needed relief pitching. They have starting pitching. They have offense. They needed a closer. They needed relief pitching. They needed bullpen help. And they got that. Now they put Hand there. He can set up for Allen, and they got Miller, and it's a fortified bullpen now for them. So they improved their biggest weakness, and now they're ready to go. And it's interesting how Machado the deal happens, and then everything starts to pick up. That's usually how it happens. You wait for that one big deal, and then everything starts to fall into place. Machado goes, and Brad Hand goes. And then tonight, Zack Britton goes, which really, once they got rid of Machado, that was going to be their next move. It escalated pretty quick. I expected the Zack Britton thing to go to the deadline. Now that was happening last year. The Astros had a deal in place, and the whole thing fell apart. So maybe that's why the Orioles didn't want to go to the deadline. They wanted to get it done. The Yankees get them for 3 prospects. It's a deal. Look, the Yankees have to get rid of some prospects because they're not going to be able to protect them all in the Rule of 5. So they had to do it. They had to do something, and they did. It fortifies their bullpen. So if they can't get a starter, they got more of a bullpen to kind of work things out with. It's a double win for them because they get a great pitcher in Zack Britton, who's really, he's been injured. He got back in June. With each appearance, he's gotten better and better. So he's, and look, he's in the free agent, so he's going to be motivated. But this is a big move for the Yankees on another level, besides the fact you get a good pitcher. It's a big deal because you keep him away from Boston, you keep him away from Houston, and now where do they go for bullpen help? The 2 best relievers are off the market. Hand's off the market, Britton's off the market. Where do you go for bullpen help? That's what you just did to your competition. And was it a shot that the Orioles actually did trade in the division especially with the Yankees? Yeah, it was. A lot of people thought that's why the Machado didn't do it, because the Yankees had the best profit. The Yankees didn't push. The Yankees figured, why should we give up a lot when we can get them in the offseason? And they didn't really have a need. They didn't really have a place to put them. So, that's what happens. And they probably made the right move, even though I think offense is a bigger issue than people think for the Yankees, because I think they don't hit well with runners and scoring. They could use a contact bat like Manny Machado, but, what is what is. They can get him in the offseason. So, that domino falls in Machado, and then all of a sudden Machado gets dealt. Brad Hand gets dealt. Tonight, Britton. And then in between, you had Jarnis Familia from the Mets, who got traded to the A's. Again, that one kind of fell under the radar, but it was a good deal. Essentially, it was a salary dump, but it was a good deal. And the A's were making a push, get a bullpen hand. So again, all these bullpen hands are gone. Where do some of these teams like the Red Sox, the Cubs, the Astros, where do they go for bullpen help? Because the best options are kind of off the board. So things have been picking up since the Machado deal. And look, I've said this over the last few years, and it's been interesting. Ever since the advent of the second wild card, the trade deadlines have been sweepy. There's been barely anything going on. You get more activity right before the All-Star game than you do after it. You really do. And then, last year's big deal was Verlander, and that happened it wasn't the biggest deal, but it was the most impactful. That didn't happen until the last day of the waiver deadline in August, which I'd look for some more moves to happen on the waiver wire too. I think we're going to see that now. I mean, if more deals happen in the next week than last year, then I don't think you'll see a lot of waiver deals. But if they don't, then I think you'll see a lot of waiver deals. But I think this trade deadline is going to be active. I think you're seeing it now. I think, a lot of things got held back by Machado. And once that happened, as I said, a lot of things started to happen. There's a lot of teams, the big teams like, that are in it. And I think what's big about this year is that, you have these especially these American League teams. You got these teams a lot of these teams already know they're going to be going. I mean, there might be some it might be a little bit of vague around and uncertain around, the wild cards, at least in the NL, but a lot of these teams know they're going to be, are going to be going, or they'll be close to going. So that allows them to know they're going to be making moves. They're not going to be sellers. They're going to be buyers. So I think with that in mind, you're going to see some activity as opposed to last year where there was, some races where, there was a lot of uncertainty for a lot of teams, even teams that really looked like they were going to be making the playoffs. They even had uncertainties whether they could be bounced out. So I think you're going to see some activity here over this next week. It's going to be interesting to see because the Yankees need starting pitching. We'll see if they finally pony that up. It seems that Jay Happ's price has gone down, so maybe that'll be an option there. Red Sox need bullpen. Astros need bullpen help. Cubs need bullpen help. There's just a thing to me too about some of these teams need bats. Like maybe the Mariners could probably use a bat. A's could probably use another. A's could probably use another pitcher or a bat. Where do you go for that? Where do you go for offense? Because the big bat was Machado, and he's gone. That's the thing. You haven't heard a thing about offensive players during this, other than Machado, during this entire trade season. It's been all about the pitching. Yeah, everybody's up there either looking for relief help or looking for starting pitching. You don't hear anything about offense. That's why Manny Machado, I think, held everything up because that was the lone bat, and everybody that needed the bat was waiting to see if they got him before they started looking elsewhere and looking at other deals because some of them needed pitching too. So I think that's really what kind of held things back, and that's why since Machado's been dealt, that's why all these things have started happening. So I think over this next week, it's going to be very interesting to see. I would expect the Yankees to get at least one starting pitcher. I also think they might trade for catching help, given the Gary Sanchez situation. We'll see. I would expect that. I think the Red Sox will get somebody for the pen. It might not be a great arm like a Britton or a Hand. Same thing with the Astros. It might not. It's going to be somebody that's kind of like this a regular old setup man or something, but every little bit helps. And look, at least the Red Sox have a closer in Kimbrel. The Astros don't even have that. So that's they got them beat there. So yeah, I would expect Red Sox, Astros. I would expect all the teams um, most of the teams in competition here for a playoff spot, or teams that are pretty much guaranteed to be making the playoffs to make some kind of move over the next week. So again, I do expect activity, probably more so than last year. We'll see what happens. Um, I think it's going to be more interesting than it's been in years past, and that's good. That's good for the game too. That's good for the game because the trade deadline is supposed to be exciting and fun, and I think it will be this year. I think this next week's going to be very interesting to see how it unfolds. So now I mentioned Gary Sanchez, and that's going to be the last topic we have here tonight. I had this full tirade planned after last night. If you're a Yankee fan, you know how it feels. And I'm not, and look, this is part of the national conversation, so I'm not just bringing this because I'm a Yankee fan. I had a big tirade plan, and then as the day's gone on, you've heard about the fact that Gary Sanchez re-aggravated his groin injury. He's back. He's on the 10-day DL, and that's he felt a tightness when he ran after the pass ball early in the game, and okay. I don't think that the Yankees lied about the injury. Okay, I really don't. I know it's easy to say that. I know that people are going to say, well, why didn't Gary say he was injured? Why, if he was hurt, why didn't he say anything? Why didn't he say anything? Okay, look, I do think there's something to be said for somebody not wanting to make excuses. Because here's the thing, as much as we like to tar and feather the guy for what he did last night, he said all the right things after the game. He said all the right things today. And I had no issue with how Boone handled it last night because you want to keep that in-house. You don't need to publicly undress the guy. I like the way he handled it. He was he blunt. Was he as blunt today as many people would have wanted? No, but he did say as such that it was what happened last night was wrong, and Gary addressed it. Apparently, Gary came and talked to him himself and dealt with the issue head on. So he doesn't need to go crazy about it because apparently the issue was dealt with. So, what can you do? What can you do on that note? So for me, I don't quibble too much with Aaron Boone here. I don't really have an issue with it, especially if what he said is true, that Gary came and saw him afterwards and they talked about it, whatever. There's no need to go to the media and make a big. Obviously, if he comes back from the DL and it continues, then I think you do have to do something like that. But I don't think you have to do it at this stage, even though this isn't just an isolated incident, which I'll get to in a minute. And I'm going to step away really quickly. We'll be right back after this. And we're back. All right, sorry about that. I had a little situation I had to deal with. All right, so as we finish up here, I don't have an issue with the way Aaron Boone performed. I thought, other than the fact he shouldn't have had Didi Gregorius bunt last night and take the bat out of his best hitter's hands at that point, but whatever. That's a whole other issue. I'm not talking about that right now. My issue was with my issue is not with Aaron Boone. I think he handled it fine last night. You keep that in house. You don't need to, I know that he's had a history with this Sanchez, but you don't. Aaron's only been here since. This is his first year. You don't want to go there yet. If he comes back from the DL and he continues to do it, then you go there. When Girardi did it last year, he had a history with him. I had no issue with when Girardi did it. Okay? So, whatever. I had no issue with that. Aaron Boone was fine. Sanchez, I thought, as far as after the game and today, I thought he handled himself fine. I really did. All right? Now, what he did was inexcusable. There's no defense against it. Okay? And if he's hurt, then he says something. After the pass ball, when he runs after and he can't manage to get there, then he says something. He goes in the dugout and he says something. Now, see, the whole thing does seem fishy because you see that, and then he gets into the fight with Severino in the dugout, which was a fight. You could tell it was a big argument. And if he's hurt, why doesn't he say something there? And if he says he's hurt, then Severino ain't going to say anything. He's going to back off. Again, I understand, I don't want to go back out of DL. I understand his reasons, okay? And maybe for him, he's a catcher. Things are sore. I didn't know it was anything that troublesome. I can understand that too. But if you're getting into an argument with your pitcher in the dugout, and their pitcher's basically saying you didn't run that out, that cost us a run, blah 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 blah. You have to defend, and you're having to defend yourself. If you're hurt, you say something. Like, I could see if that exchange doesn't happen, then you kind of, and you don't give up a run, and you're kind of keeping yourself like, oh, when I went after that, or whatever. If that whole scene doesn't happen, I can kind of see it. I can kind of see it. But I cannot see it when you get into it with your starting pitcher in the dugout. I can't see it. I can't see not saying something. I just can't. And that was and that's where, even though I don't think they're lying about the injury, even though they're not lying about the injury, which I don't think they are, okay? That's why I can understand why people think they are. Because it's you see that, I get it. You just came off the DL. You're trying to impress the fans. You're trying to pick up your team and everything. I get it. Okay? Even though it seems kind of in character because you've been wolfing it, you barely ever run out ground balls in the last year and a half, okay? So it doesn't speak, it's not really in character, but I digress. I get it. But here's the thing. If you're going to go out there, you feel that tightness. All right. What do you like? I think it's typical catcher soreness now. Okay, if that's what you think, okay, you're afraid. You don't want to tell anybody anything, but you could have just told. Why couldn't you tell Severino? And just say, I'm feeling some tightness there. I don't think it's a big deal. It kind of stopped me when I was trying to run towards the ball. Sorry about that, man. It's my bad. Whatever. Why couldn't you say that much? Now, again, we don't know that he didn't. But I would think if he did, Severino would have kind of backed off him a little bit. And he kind of did that. And then afterwards, he said it was his fault. He kind of took responsibility for parts of it too. But still, if you saw that, you think if he said something like that, Severino would have looked a little bit different. Would have reacted a little differently. And then, of course, running out at the end of the game and that cost him a run at the end of the game, would have tied the game, blah, 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 whatever. But the other thing, too, is this. Okay, if something you got that tightness and you're like, oh, I'm a catcher, I'm used to soreness and tightness and stuff like that, things happen. That's the reason why I didn't think I should say something, and if I said something I figured they might take a precaution and put me on a DL again. All right, whatever. Okay, so maybe you feel that tightness early in the game, you let it go, right? You play the entire game. You play the entire game. Ninth inning, you don't run out that ground ball at the end, and you're dogging it down the line, and you try to pick up speed at the end of the run because you notice that they didn't get the runner at second, they're going to throw to first. If your claim, okay, if the idea here is that tightness, that soreness in that leg, that area, kept you from running to get that ball after the pass ball, okay? If that kept you from that, then it should have kept you from running at all at full speed on that ground ball at the end. But it didn't, because you dogged it for the first part of the run, but then as soon as you notice, this game's not over, they didn't get the runner at second, they're throwing to first, you came at full speed to try to run to first. So if that tightness kept you, and again, he tried to run after. See, and you know what? The more you talk about, the more it doesn't make any sense, and the more you do think that there's something fishy about this. Because here's the thing: he at the end of after the pass, when he went after the pass ball, at first he doesn't run after, but at the end of it, he starts to run. Once he realizes the runner's going to try to score, he busts the gut to try to get that ball. Same thing with the run at the end of the game. As soon as he realizes, they didn't get the runner at second, I better bust it. He flies by his standards. So, this is why I think, this is why people don't want to believe it. Now, I have a hard time believing the Yankees will lie by injury because they've never done something like that before. But, but if he does that, then it couldn't have bothered him that badly. It couldn't have. It couldn't have. And after the game, they asked him if he was healthy. He said yes. He took responsibility. Like I said, he said all the right things after the game. He said all the right things today. I understand. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to go to DL. I'm a catcher. I'm sore and whatever. I understand all that. But you got dug into by your starting pitcher after you didn't chase that pass ball. You got the media after the game asking you about your effort and how you didn't run after that pass ball and after you didn't run out the right. You want to defend yourself if you're injured or if you had any kind of soreness or tightness, even if you don't think it's a big deal. Shouldn't you say something to defend yourself? Shouldn't you? Not wait until after everything's over with. And according to Aaron Boone, that's when he said something. He went to talk to Aaron about the effort and not running, not hustling and all that. And at the end of it, he said, "Yeah, I felt a little tightness." You wait till that point? That's what you wait for? When your starting pitcher's upset with you, and no doubt other people in that clubhouse are upset with you and probably said something to you. You know that your manager's going to be upset once he with you. And I do think Aaron knew. I just think he was covering it. That's what the smart thing to do because you want to keep it in house. But your manager's going to be upset with you. The fans are going to be upset because the media is asking you about your effort, your lack of effort, and not running and hustling. You know all this, and you're not even going to try. If you're injured, you have a reason. If you or even if not even if you're injured, even if you're having a nagging pain, saying, "Hey, I got this soreness. I'm not sure what it is. I don't think it's too big of a deal, but it did hinder me a little bit today." At least then people be like, "Well, maybe okay, all right, we'll give him a pass for today, or whether they do or not, at least you threw something out there." You know what I'm saying? At least you threw something out there. But you got all these people that you're going to be facing this huge backlash, and you're not going to defend yourself if you feel any kind of pain. If you feel any kind of soreness, any kind of tightness, any kind of pain, you have something that you can throw out there to face that backlash head on and say, hey, you know what? The media is asking you these questions. You know what you say? I don't want to make excuses. I take full responsibility. I should have ran harder, but there was something going on. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's a big deal. As a catcher, I feel things all the time, but this felt like a little bit of tightness in the area that I just injured. So, that kind of hindered me a little bit today. We'll see what happens with it. I don't think it's a big deal, but I do take full responsibility. I should have run things out a little bit better. I should have run things out better. That's what you say. You take responsibility, but then you also threw out there the fact that there was something that could be going on, and that's that. That's how you handle it. The fact that he didn't opens up a can of worms. It has people questioning whether this is all BS, and really what the Yankees just did was suspend Gary Sanchez for 10 games without suspending him. Again, I don't think they would do something like that. I truthfully don't. I don't. But you can't blame people for thinking it based on the facts, based on how everything developed. And even I admit, if you look at things, like, why wouldn't he say something? Why wouldn't he get Severino off his back? Why wouldn't he get the fans, his manager, his teammates, the media all off his back, or at least tame the reactions a little bit by just throwing out there the idea that there was something potentially going on? If he felt tightness or any kind of soreness, throw it out there. Just tell people that, hey, this could have been an issue for me today. I mean, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? I just don't get it. So it's a messy situation in the Yankees today. Yankees Twitter post: backup catcher Austin Romine wins the Hustle Award, which I thought was hysterical. I almost felt like it was a way to needle Sanchez, but it's great. Look, it's a messy situation. I think Boone handled it well. I don't think they lied about the injury. I do think there's something there. I don't know, because I really don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it's probably just soreness, residual soreness, and maybe he did re-aggravate it a little bit, tweak it a little bit. But still, he should have said something if he did. Assuming he did, I don't know. It's one of those weird things where you don't know what to believe. I had this whole tirade planned to go on here and say, what he did was embarrassing and disgusting, which it was. But then you hear all this, and you're wondering what's true and what isn't. Are they BSing us? Are they not? And then he's taking. I mean, he did take full responsibility, even with the so-called injury. So that's what you want. That's what you want to see. And if what Aaron said is true, and he went to the office before Aaron got to him, then that shows a lot too. Maybe it was a wake-up call for him. Maybe it was. I don't know. You hope it was, because this is not an isolated incident, which is what worries you. If it was, and my people would have probably let it go, because it wasn't, because he's been doing these things before. Maybe not as blatantly as last night, but he's done it. That worries you. I mean, it's been said that one of the reasons Joe Girardi don't have a job with the Yankees is because of Gary Sanchez. Because he called Gary Sanchez out, he benched him, and he didn't like the way Girardi handled him. So they went with Aaron Boone, more of a communicator. They wanted him to be more buddy-buddy with guys like Gary Sanchez. Well, I'm going to be honest with you folks. Today's athlete, and we're going to do a show about this soon, because I think it's a great topic. Today's athlete is coddled way too much. Way too much. You have to the point where accountability goes out the window. We have coaches and managers for a reason. they're there to get on your case. Same thing with, team captains and leaders in your team. They're there to get on you, to motivate you, to get inside your head, to get you on the right track. If you're not doing things the right way, if you're detrimental to the team and its performance, then you need, and sometimes you need to get some sense knocked into you. And I think Gary Sanchez needs that. You saw what he was with Girardi and what he's been with Boone this year. I know he's been injured. But there's a difference. There's honestly a difference with the whole team. I know they're 64-35 right now. Not like they're a bad team. But there are times when this team lacks focus and lacks maturity and is sloppy on defense and sloppy in fundamentals. And that, to me, is an indication of the manager. I like Aaron Boone. I think Aaron Boone's going to be a great manager. But right now, he's still feeling his way through this. And I think he's yet to figure out a way to keep the focus sharp day in and day out, and a way to get on his players' case and get them to remember that they need to stay focused, that they need to be, fundamentally sound. And if they do something wrong and they do something like Gary did last night, sometimes you do have to get in their face and, tell them it's wrong. And tell them it won't be tolerated. Because if you don't, it gets worse. I think Girardi realized that last year because they did coddle Gary for a while. They let Gary get away for a while. And then Girardi eventually said, you know what, enough's enough. And then apparently that's probably part of the reason he lost his job. He didn't accept it when Cano used to not hustle, and he's not going to accept it now either. Wasn't going to accept it last year either. And I think Boone needs to take a stand here. You're a manager. You're not to be a best friend. You're not a golf buddy. You could do that during the offseason or between games or whatever. The minute that you walk into that stadium and you interact with your team, you are their boss, you are their manager, you are their coach. There needs to be a respect there. I need to listen to you. I need to respond to you. If you can't cultivate that kind of relationship, then you shouldn't be a manager. Bottom line. And Aaron Boone's been around baseball. His family is baseball royalty. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to learn. He's going to grow from this, but he needs to he needs to start doing it soon, a very talented player like Gary Sanchez is going to fall between the cracks, and you're going to lose him. By lose him, I mean you're not going to have a chance at getting through to him, and he's going to have to go somewhere else before he can, before he can, anybody can reach him. It'd be one of those players that has to have a change of scenery because nobody on the team can reach him because you lost him. You lost his attention. So it's a messy thing. And it's something that you just don't like to see because it sends a bad message to kids that play the game. It's something that repulses you. You don't want to see it. Like I was sitting there last night watching, and I'm like, what in the world? I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed watching it. And then you hear he's hurt, and I'm like, well, then why don't you say that then? And I understand DL and everything. You don't want to go back on, but still, dude, you have to defend yourself. You know what's going to happen after the game, after what happened last night. You know you're going to be destroyed by fans, by media, by teammates. Say something if you felt anything. Any kind of pain, tightness, anything. Give yourself a reason. At least people can say, you give people a reason, give you the benefit of the doubt, despite your history. Just a messy situation. Look, he's on a DL for 10 days. We'll see how they deal with it when he comes back. It'll be interesting. With that being said, that's it. We are done for tonight. We have done everything we had to do. As always, the show might be over. Does not mean you have to stop interacting and contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your feedback, questions about the show, scheduling the show, topic ideas, or breaking news items related to sports, entertainment, wrestling you want us to cover. Stuff for the In the Spotlight TV Awards. Remember, submissions can be only done by email only, but you can ask us questions about the awards by email, Facebook, and Twitter, so keep that in mind. Questions about the show and the scheduling of the show, any of these things, You can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight401@gmail.com. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at itspotlight401. Use the hashtag itspotlight401 for anything to tweet regarding our show. And, of course, on Facebook, search In the Spotlight 401 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page once you find it, please, or once you're on it. Because once you're on it, you can, you can interact with us and all that good stuff. Again, we want you to follow us on social media so you can have the latest access to all the latest news about the show, any scheduling changes, postponements, delays, any of that good stuff. Plus, we also post other random things on our social media as well, so you want to have access to that too. So remember to follow us on Twitter at itspotlight401. Use the hashtag itspotlight401 for anything to people got on the show, and again on Facebook to search In the Spotlight 411, and then make sure that you like our fan page. So make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter. If you'd like to keep up with the show or look back at classic episodes, you can do that in two ways. One way you can do it is by streaming us anytime on our main, well, I shouldn't say our main host because they're not our main host sites, but anyway, you can stream us anytime on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search In the Spotlight 401 on both those sites, and you'll be taken to our home pages on both sites. We have access to every episode we ever produced for Google Plus and YouTube. Every episode from October 2015, all up to tonight's current episode. Those episodes are available for you to stream anytime you want. To search for In the Spotlight 401 on Google Plus and YouTube, and you'll be able to do all that and more. If streaming's not your thing, maybe prefer to listen to us rather than see us, listen to us on the go, maybe instant older episodes of the show. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for In the Spotlight 401. And once you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites. We have access to every episode we've ever produced in the nearly 8 years we've been doing the show. So all of our episodes from our original Blog Talk Radio run from October 2010 and January 2011. All of our episodes from our Talk Show run from January 2011 all the way up to mid-October of 2015. And all of our Google Plus and YouTube episodes mid-October of 2015, all the way up to tonight's current episode. Those episodes all transfer into audio format for your convenience. Every episode we've ever done in audio format for your convenience to listen to on the go, listen to whenever you want. Every episode is listed from the most recent, that being tonight's, all the way to the oldest, way back in October 2010. Feel free to listen to them anytime you want. Maybe you're a long-time fan, let's check an episode from years ago again, or a new fan wants to check an episode like that for the first time, just keep up with current episodes or anything like that. You can do all that and more on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search for In the Spotlight 401. So Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes. Again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, your ways to keep up the show and look back at classic episodes. To search for In the Spotlight 401. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411 on those sites. People have been asking me about Mike. I don't know when he'll be back. There's a chance that he might be back in August. If not, maybe September. We'll see. We're working on it. He's got the job thing. It's kind of hard for him, but we'll see what we can do. Get him back on the show soon. Speak on some of these very important topics that have been going on. I'm sure he has some thoughts on James Gunn and other things. So hopefully we get him back soon so he can talk about those things. And we wish him luck and well and everything else. So shout out to him. I want to thank myself for another great show, Parents Havana Back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. And to those that will be watching, listening to this later, thank you to you as well. Again, sorry about last week's show and the screw up with the technical problems. Apologies for that. Again, sorry for being late as well. That is it for tonight. Remember, a week from tonight, the In the Spotlight TV Award nomination ballots are due. 9 o'clock Eastern time when we go on the air. Assuming we go on the air at 9 o'clock Eastern time, because that usually doesn't happen. But but still, I tell you that just so you have them all in. So 9 o'clock Eastern time next Tuesday, July the 31st, is the deadline for the TV Award nomination ballots. So make sure that you get those in. We'll announce the nominees 2 weeks from tonight. So that deadline is very important. So make sure you note that. That is our next show next Tuesday, July the 31st. We'll talk MLB trade deadline. The trade deadline will be that day, so we'll have lots to talk about. It'll be that day, early on in the day, around 4 o'clock Eastern, so there'll be a lot of stuff to talk about. Any other big sports headlines we have to cover, we'll talk about. We'll talk wrestling, Raw, Smackdown, highlights, all that good stuff. Box office beat. And we'll talk the James Gunn situation as well. So all that coming at you 1 week from tonight, here broadcasting live on YouTube. Next Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern time here on YouTube. So until then, I hope you have a great rest of your night, a great week, a great weekend, and a great start to your week next week. We'll see you back here 1 week from tonight, July the 31st, broadcasting and streaming live here on YouTube at 9 o'clock Eastern time. Until then, good night, everybody.